everybody, we are gonna go on a field trip. Let's go see the Kennedy Space Center and learn all about astronauts and rocket ships and even flying to the moon. Let's go!
Then turn left. Turn left. In 300 feet. Turn left.
How amazing that was. So it seems so appropriate that as we return to the lunar surface.
In that red section up there, that's the launch abort system. And the bottom section, the blue section, it's exactly what you think it is. It's the launch pad. So my, how things have changed over the years. Here comes the security gate.
For the eyes of the world, now look into space, to the moon and the planets beyond. And we have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. John F. Kennedy. Is a model of the Orion spacecraft. NASA's Orion spacecraft. Look how big it is. So the astronauts sit, shoots through space. Check out the Atlas Agena rocket. All that. There's so much power in that rocket ship. Just for perspective, look at how big the rocket ship is compared to Nick. And this is what it looks like on the inside of the rocket. For all the pieces, where all the fuel is held. This is a small one. The real one is this big. So remember that Saturn V that we saw? This is just the engine. The size reference, here's Nick, and that's how big the engine is. It's a big engine. It's a good thing our car engines aren't that big.
Or else the car would just be like smashed.
That'd be crazy. Where the astronauts were from inside. All of the controls that they had to make sure that they were going where they needed to go and that they had what they needed to have. Let's go take a look inside. Can you imagine that being your seat? But they were safe. This is the cockpit where the astronauts controlled how they landed on the moon. See the controllers? This is how the astronauts sit in their cockpit. So we saw how the astronauts were sitting in the capsule. Do you think we can pretend to be astronauts? Are you ready, astronauts? Mission abort. Mission 10, Mission 9, 8, abort 7, 5, 4, 3, Mission abort. I quit. Leave it alone. I quit. We have another rocket that we get to look at. This one is called the Saturn 18, and it is all the way, look at this, that's the top, the beginning where they would shoot through into space, and look how long it goes, all the way back there. These rockets were not small, they were huge, and they weren't just shooting out of space. They were going places. They were learning things about the world that God made. And this is a picture of the International Space Station. This space station is in orbit, stays in orbit around the Earth. Circling the Earth, it sends information around the Earth, sends information back to us here on the planet about what's going on around our planet. And it was done, this was put up in space by a whole group of countries. Not just one country started the International Space Station. All of these countries came together and they take turns sending astronauts up into space to learn about what's going on in space around our planet, what's going on in our planet, and what's going on outside of our planet. Hey, we know that country. International Space Station has been the biggest worldwide contribution to space exploration. Ice cream break! Say hey! This is the Heroes and Legends Astronaut Hall of Fame. Let's go see what they have. United States Astronaut Hall of Fame. This is Alan B. Shepard, the first American in space. Let's take a look at this. All of the astronauts that have made it into space. Sign says, "Welcome to the Moon Tree Garden." These trees represent the Apollo missions, all of the different Apollo missions, and there were a lot of them. And we saw the flags inside the building. Well, this is an outside memorial for us to think about and remember all of the men and women who went up into space. And this right here represents the statue for Michael Collins, Neil Armstrong, and Edwin Aldrin. And they were the first astronauts to step on the moon. And they said the eagle has made one small step for man, one giant step take a look at all the different missions that the Apollo program was a part of. Apollo 7, Apollo 8. This is the one where they went all the way around the moon. They didn't land on it, but they went all the way around it. They were the first people to see the other side of the moon. Apollo 9, Apollo 10, Apollo 11, and these were the first men to land on the moon. We saw their sculpture, how they put the American flag on the moon and collected moon rock. Apollo 12, Apollo 13, they were supposed to go to the moon. They ended up having a lot of problems with their mission. And they were able to pull together and get back home, but they were not able to complete their mission. Apollo 14, Apollo 15, Apollo 16, and Apollo 17. The last Apollo mission, the last time that Americans have been on the moon, 1972. This was a uniform that they wore for the Apollo missions, and eventually Apollo 11 when they landed on the moon. This is the depiction of the first men on the moon. They put the flag on the moon. And there is the landing shuttle and their spacesuits. And a depiction of where they put the American flag. He was collecting the moon rocks. And that's the shuttle that they flew. They landed onto the moon. This is the vehicle that they drove on the moon. Could you imagine riding on this thing? Like a go-kart, but for the moon. Apollo 16. A moon rock that was collected by astronaut Jack Schmitt near the Apollo 17 lunar module landing site. And the rock weighs 17 grams. This is just a teeny tiny little piece of it. This is the planet Mars. And so far, NASA began exploring Mars in the 1960s with robotic explorers. Like they put robots in little cars that could take samples on their own. But we have not yet actually had people land on the planet yet. So in addition to getting spaceships and people on the moon, right now NASA is working on exploring the planet of Mars. This is what we're talking about, Mars exploration. So these are some of the depictions of the rovers that they sent to Mars early on. We have the 1996 launch, where they were able to collect all of those little bitty pieces of computers, collecting information about the environment, about the land, about the atmosphere, about the air. But it's a big robot, or a remote controlled car. And they were able to control these rovers from mission control. Here's another rover launched, 2003. Again in 2003. 2020 was the latest mission to Mars. And these are the newest bots. called rovers to explore Mars. Look at how big those wheels are. Look at that. Those wheels are pretty big. It was designed, you see the cameras? To take pictures and collect more information about the planet Mars. 1 and 2. This is the Ingenuity helicopter. It's got propellers. Here we go. More data, more information from the other launches. Curiosity rover in 2011, 2016 images. There's the helicopter, kind of like a drone. But since we are not familiar with the atmosphere in Mars, they have to get very special technology to be able to explore. And since it's so far away, they have not been able to figure out how to get people to the planet of Mars just yet. What do you think? Do you think people one day will be in a vehicle like this, driving around exploring the planet of Mars? Would you like to live in Mars? No. Wow, what a great trip! I learned so much about astronauts and spaceships, rockets, and I wonder if any of you are gonna grow up to be astronauts one day. Keep learning. I'll talk to you later. Bye!